MoffettNathanson's Craig Moffett's here. We were going to talk Apple, which we'll get to in a bit, Craig, but I got to come to you on this one. I mean, you know, you and I have been friends a long time. You are rigorous when it comes to your analysis. You have been wrong on this thing. I mean, when's things going to start to get better? They just keep losing broadband subs.
Yeah, and the market is not prepared to look at anything else other than the loss of broadband subs. You know, it's funny, if for most companies, if you started the conversation by saying they beat on revenues, they beat on margins, they beat on earnings, they beat on free cash flow, they beat on EPS, you'd probably think it was pretty good. But the market is very much fixated on broadband, and rightly so. It's their most important business. But it strikes me as an interesting setup for 2025 because the stock is cheap, and I think almost certainly the broadband picture gets better instead of worse.
Why do you think that? Yeah, why do you think things will start to get better? Because, you know, the anticipation of the competition from fixed wireless or the overbuilders in terms of fiber, management doesn't seem to have fully appreciated the impact it might have, not to mention, obviously, the Affordable Connectivity Plan and things like that.
Well, I think let's put the Affordability Connectivity Plan aside for just a second, because you would think if the narrative is that competition is getting worse, that you'd see that in the numbers. But we've seen the numbers for the competitors. Fixed wireless is actually slowing down a little bit. Fiber to the home is actually slowing down a little bit in terms of the competitive impact. It is almost certainly the case that the reason you saw this big deceleration in 2024 was because of the withdrawal of the ACP program. If that's now behind us, we should see something like a normal market, which I'm not suggesting that Comcast is going to start to grow broadband subscribers again in 2025. It won't. But you've almost certainly seen by far the worst of it in 2024. And now things start to get better on the broadband front. And there's a lot of other good stuff happening at Comcast, like the opening of the Epic theme park and reduced losses at Peacock coming in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, were you surprised, though, at the lack of subscriber growth, third quarter to fourth quarter at Peacock? Is that concerning?
No, in fact, you could look at the glass being half full and say you almost certainly would expect that there would be some pullback after the big uptick that they had from the Olympics. With the Olympics ending, some of those subscribers were going to lose. So I think staying at a flat 35 million subscribers is probably about as good as you could have expected.
All right. As we continue to watch that stock sink, of course, as our viewers know, it's the only name that we can really own here, unfortunately. Craig, let's talk a little Apple, because positive though you may be on Comcast, you're not particularly positive on Apple. They're going to be reporting after the bell. You have a sell on it. Why?
Well, in fact, go back to Comcast for a second. One of the reasons we like Comcast is that it's really cheap. One of the reasons that we're cautious on Apple is that it's really expensive. I don't think that Apple is a broken company. When we downgraded it about, I guess, maybe a month ago, it wasn't that the company was broken. It was that the valuation was broken, and that at 33 times earnings, it discounted essentially all good news. And we said there were some significant risks that weren't being priced in.